Hi, I'm David Morgan.
And I'm Bill Tillman.
Welcome to Everyday Ethics, where we explore and examine the issues and values that are related to our lives and inform us each and every day. Bill, today's episode is our last one in season two.
It is.
And as I have shared with you before, working with you is always a delight. It's
Oh, that
always
beats the
an
alternative. Yeah.
enjoyable experience for me. Uh, And I think back about what we've done with talking about the integrity wheel this season. And one of the thoughts that came to mind as I did that it really doesn't seem like we're going to reach an end today, but it's like we're at a point where we can talk about what we've done, but at the same time we're looking ahead to how this may impact Christian ethics, applied theology in our lives.
Right.
I was trying to find a word to put with that and realizing that this is the end of a school year, we're having
Yeah.
commencement services. And I think commencement is a perfect word. We're recognizing some sense of accomplishment, some sense of completion and ending, but at the same time, we are looking forward to what may come next. Any thoughts?
Yeah. Let me back up just a little bit. Um, what will show up at the beginning of this episode will be another graphic of the wheel, which goes to what do we call this episode?
Good.
And this one is, well, I'll give you what was the chapter title that I worked with originally for the book, The
Okay.
Integrity Wheel. If this sounds like from an academic or what?
Okay.
Penultimate integrity wheel thoughts.
You're kidding me.
I see that, well, yeah, but that's why we then talked around and okay, let's call it the rim,
Ah, okay.
the outside part of the wheel. And we're using that as a metaphor to convey, well, you just use the term applied ethics, applied theology, practical theology, that we take these ideas that we've been developing and over the past seasons, and particularly uh, season one, most of this one, we've talked more about behavior, actions through character formation. And there's our wheel and the spokes. There comes a time where we need to be moving, though, from talking about who we are to what are we doing. And they're integrally related. They are reciprocal in force, I think. Our actions give us a sense of direction and some identification of our character. But that's where we're going. It's more of an applied area. Press it on into season three, and we're planning a season three.
Okay.
Um, it'll be even more in the direction of um, how do we bring to bear our sense of character um, in the public. So, I mean, I could push this back to you. What are the ways that people typically think of applying theology? Um, there is advocacy, which can take several forms. But what
Hmm.
are some of those that you know about that you've worked with?
Well, there's advocacy. Uh,
Which
there's,
means what? That's another one
well,
of those.
I would say advocacy is using what skills and knowledge and abilities we have as ethicists, as attorneys, as school teachers
Hmm,
in our congregations that are able to work with institutions, groups, governments, uh,
Yeah.
nonprofits, for example, to
Mhm.
provide support, encouragement, both tangible, hands on in the sense of being there, working with them. I mean, building
Okay.
houses, providing educational materials, teaching, as well as writing letters trying to change the situations in which we find ourselves. I mean, changing the whole system and the whole structure that might make a
Yeah.
difference, which honestly, I think about that and I think advocacy fits right in to our notion of calling. We are called to make things different. We are
Yeah.
called to use those skills. And as you alluded to a moment ago, we're called to bring out, look for, seek, and point people towards the common good, not just in our congregations, but in our communities as well.
Well, and with this idea of character, and now, well, what you just did, we're on the spokes of the integrity wheel.
Mm,
Calling, um, and character, who we are. I think one of the things that is implicit to be explicit with the good news, the gospel, we are called to become the best humans we can be.
mm,
And out of that should develop application in other ways. Now, when this episode gets dropped, uh, something that we heard this past week, our time now as we're
right.
recording, were a couple of addresses. Uh, King Charles of England visited the United States, particularly in one of his addresses. It was the joint session of Congress, 28 minutes long, um, just immediate in our past few days. When this gets dropped, anybody listening or viewing can go to YouTube, because we're going to include that in the further conversation
Sure, I'll do
parts
that. Yes.
of these episodes. Um, both the addresses that particularly I would reference from King Charles, um, will be on YouTube. They already are there. But for anybody else, but particularly in that joint session, he called for some ideas, some character shapes that should mark particularly the relationships between Great Britain and the United States. But these could be applicable any size group, individual to individual. But here were his guidelines. And in turn, I think what we talked about, we'll start applying these around the wheel.
Mhm.
Um, but he said, let's join together to stem the beating of plowshares into swords. Make war no more.
Ah, okay.
Um, he maintained, and all of these statements were out of his sense, he said aloud, of his own practice of the Christian faith. But a matter
And
of hope.
and
Oh, go
he
ahead.
is head of the Church of England as well as sovereign over Great Britain. And I think that
That's right.
I've thought about that. I mean, we've heard Leo speak. I mean, we don't see Charles necessarily in the same kind of a religious sense, but he still speaks
Yeah,
for the church in many ways. So I'm sorry, but go
yeah.
ahead.
Um, Also, a generosity of spirit. Um, Work toward fostering compassion, promote peace, deepen mutual understanding, and particularly the application of that one. Um, well, we keep talking about the common good, and that's one of our objectives, trying to have ethical conversation across demographic lines, faith tradition lines, that there are issues of humanity that affect all of us. And we should all be finding ways to contribute into the betterment of those things. But let's keep moving with the wheel. You want to pick up with heroes, heroines?
I was just going to say, as you were talking, and I was thinking back to those speeches, uh, Charles might not be my hero in the sense of persons I have actually met, but
Yes,
in many ways, the thoughts that he expressed and that he expressed them in such a unique way, I think would qualify him as someone worth listening to,
right.
worth emulating. Uh, Certainly, someone that can both challenge us in many ways, which, we mentioned that. Go back to memory,
Yeah,
because, memory loss, heroes, heroines, and place, we all kind of link those three together. But the sense that even in his speeches, without going into any detail, he reminded us of who we are as citizens of this country, as
yes,
believers, and as
and
sharers
not.
of some
Yeah.
sense of a joint heritage
Oh,
with
very
Great
much so.
Britain as well.
Very much so. Yeah, he took the U.S. form of government, particularly speaking to the House and Senate persons. The formation of those bodies can be tracked all the way back to the Magna Carta. Um, and it was interesting, he made reference to Runnymede, which is
Mhm.
in the environs of London, that's where the Magna Carta was signed by the king and the people. Therein is a monument, interestingly enough, to John F. Kennedy. So another one of these kinds of connections um, at world governmental level where the two countries interface. Well, after memory hope that we dealt with um, another week, another episode when we were recording, what came next?
Oh,
Was it
yeah.
was it place?
Oh, huh?
Was it place?
It was place. Uh, I hesitated for a moment because my mind went from place to loss.
Well, it's after place.
I know it's after place.
Yeah.
Uh,
So there was the little test, David.
what was my test? Yeah, okay. All right, so it's come to the academic year and it's time for the final exam. And
Yeah,
I guess once a professor, always a professor. You just can't rid yourself of that, can you, Bill?
I
Uh,
cannot.
and apparently, I didn't cram well enough for this exam
No.
today. Okay. Uh, the but place you mentioned, like you said, you mentioned several places,
Yeah.
uh, and how significant they are to us. Gee.
We'll go back to, my question I threw at you about what does advocacy mean?
Ah,
And you named uh, places.
yeah.
I mean, it can be in one's congregational setting. We might think of that first, or maybe not. Um, but I spent a lot of years working with students, one level or another, and back to calling, they might be taking an ethics course with me, but particularly in the undergraduate university work, they might be majoring in a whole other field besides theology. But by virtue partly their choice of being at a Christian-based institution, uh, you could ask them, okay, what are you going to do with this? And many of them could give responses back to whatever profession they went into. They were going to be able to find ways of how they could articulate values
Mm,
toward the common good. Most of them moving into some kind of system or another. It might be public education, it might not be. Some of them were in pre-med classes, and they intended to go into medicine and practice as faith-based uh, medical personnel, nurses, doctors, all kinds of
right,
specialists. And it just goes on and on. Um, again, the base and where the rim touches the road of life, um, there are ways to bring what we understand as good character into those conversations wherever
right.
we work. And some of those places are pretty hard.
Mhm.
We probably have not given enough help educationally, encouragement wise to people about the matter of calling, that it's not just to quote unquote special service in the
Right.
church, um, but that one's faith, convictional base, moral base, can find outlet through whatever. Well, we are to loss now. We're moving
We
around
are
the
to
wheel.
loss, but let me go back quickly, if I can, to place.
You found place.
You gave me time to think about it. Actually, and it goes together with what the Maston Foundation is doing. Well,
Sure.
okay. Having retired from being a pastor 6 years ago,
That long.
not everything comes back to mind as quickly as it used to. But and this is a distinction. You asked me about advocacy earlier. Okay. We have Christian ministry and Christian action.
You're right.
Social action, social ministry, the terms we used to use.
Right.
You social ministry really implied the hands-on kind of thing.
It does.
And our church would go to a community in South Texas, and it was truly a relationship, a year-round thing, not just the summer week
Ah,
that they talk about. Just go down there, have your mission vacation, and come back.
right.
And the foundation is now working with that with our students, taking them to these same kind of
Yes.
places
Yes.
because you know looking and seeing and touching has a greater impact on them than just anything that we could say to them.
The immersion experience.
It does that.
Yeah.
So, well, now back to loss. I'll get back on track now.
Yeah. You did not lose your place after all.
Yeah, I did not lose my place after all. Uh, as I mean, we've mentioned King Charles several times today. One of the things he did in his speech, he mentioned September 11th
Right.
and how that was a great loss for us. We still struggle with grieve over that in many ways
Right.
as we try to process that.
Right.
But in that loss, he reminded us that Great Britain and others joined us and supported us through that
Yeah.
dark time.
Yeah.
And I think that, as we've talked about, several weeks ago, when we were dealing with loss, it's important for us as advocates for others, as Christians, as to to be involved in walking with others through their kind of loss as well.
Yeah. It is working out grief together,
Mhm. Uh,
um, which can go on for a long time
we could do that.
and finds expression in ways that generally, until we experience it, we don't identify it.
Right.
It's another area where we have probably not um, been as helpful and I'm thinking now about congregational life
Oh, I agree.
as, we could be. And that would, I'm looking back at these phrases that Charles used, um, fostering compassion.
Right.
That would be one of those around loss, the generosity of spirit. Now, on the other hand, it's particularly through the various congregations with which I've had experience. Generally, one of the best things that a congregation does is they have a group. They may be deacons, elders. Uh, Oftentimes, this falls in with uh, little segments that are already formed, but they make sure that the grieving family, for instance, has a gathering. There is food for the whole group. And it's not just that one time, but there's an ongoing process. And I've probably mentioned to you, our older son did his MA thesis in North Mississippi.
Okay.
And it was built around uh, interviews, and particularly with women, most of them involved in congregation of some sort, um, but they were known in their places as people who provided food for those grieving and in ongoing ways. And not just northern Mississippi, but there are places all over the United States where there are these pockets of poverty, hunger. But those people, kind of under the surface, and until he and our son and others found this spot, but also how open these people were of being interviewed and sharing their methodologies. Um, I mean, I still think about it, and this has been years ago that he did the thesis of how that spread these ideas, generosity, compassion, um, promoting peace. So,
No,
well, we have gotten to the last spoke.
I was going to say, it sounds to me that you could have added the word to these folks who bring casseroles,
Hmm.
bring cakes.
Yeah,
You could, these people,
yeah, he got recipes too. It was
wow.
that
Okay.
it was just, I mean, their generosity of information. Uh, so,
But that generosity, I think, comes, these people realize that God has blessed them in so many ways.
and
Last
there's our
spoke,
last spoke. Yeah.
the last spoke, the blessing, and God has blessed them, and they feel a sense of, I was going to say responsibility, and yeah, there is a sense of responsibility, but it's
Yeah.
more than a sense of willingness, a sense of freedom. Hey,
Ah,
because I have been blessed, I bless you.
and that's what it's intended to be.
And that's exactly what it's intended to be. And and it's a reminder you're struggling, but I love you, but God loves you, uh, and there is a future for you.
And may it be as well as possible with you.
And it may be, I think the word maybe Godspeed would fit. God give you success
Oh,
from God's perspective, from God's way of looking at things.
that's a very old word.
Or I think we used the term archaic word yesterday. Uh,
Yeah.
but a word that somehow we might
But
want to talk about more often.
yeah, let's re-energize it.
I think we can do
Let's,
that.
yeah.
So,
Well, you
and
want to wish our listeners and viewers Godspeed?
I will wish our visitors and viewers Godspeed. I will invite them back for season 3, and I will invite them to join you and me as we continue to work within character formation, work within transformation of our lives, that we
Yes,
keep Jesus as our example and we walk as he walked.
very good.
Everyday Ethics is brought to you by the T.B. Maston Foundation, which seeks to proclaim the abiding relevance of the whole gospel of Jesus Christ and provide support for the study and application of Christian ethics. For more information or to donate, visit tbmaston.org.